We'll see if we're on the right path. Why did she come back to this country exactly? She's not stupid, and she's rich. We'll find out. Meanwhile, Kanye West is running for president. He launched his campaign at a rally in South Carolina last night. His remarks were not focus grouped. There weren't a lot of platitudes or cliches. They were as unusual, in fact, as eccentric as the man himself, but in some ways they were remarkable and worth watching. Take a look at this.
Freedom does not come from an election. The freedom comes from you not loading up pornography. The freedom comes from you not taking the Percocet. The freedom comes from you not downing your brother and your sister. The freedom comes from you putting that gun down and not shooting people at the gas station. It has nothing to do with this election. It only has to do with God and God's people.
Huh. A celebrity musician telling you that freedom does not come from porn or drugs or pulling a gun on people. It comes from God. Here you have one of the most famous people in the world attacking the porn industry and Big Pharma in one speech. He said a lot of things, by the way. Some of them we wouldn't agree with at all. Some very unusual proposals made the roster, too, including giving $1 million to any woman who has a baby. But it was interesting. And maybe the most arresting moment came when Kanye West talked about abortion. Watch this.
My mom saved my life. My dad wanted to abort me. My mom saved my life. There would have been no Kanye West because my dad was too busy.
Well, there's a moment. That's something you probably haven't seen before because, of course, it's never happened. A Grammy Award-winning musician making an appeal, an emotional appeal, against abortion. But he was just starting. Then he told the crowd about the time he and his wife considered an abortion themselves.
She had the pills in her hand. People know these pills where you take the pills, and if you take it, it's a wrap. The baby's gone. And I called my wife, and she said, we're going to have this baby. I said, we're going to have this child. I know people that are 50 years old that didn't have the children, that didn't have that child, that have never got to experience the level of joy that I experienced having a child. So even if my wife were to divorce me after this speech, she brought North into the world, even when I didn't want to. She stood up and she protected that child.
No speechwriter wrote that. And it's a dangerous point if you think about it. They can say they love you. They can tell you your life matters. But if they clutter your neighborhood with abortion clinics, they're lying. That's a real argument. But no one wanted to engage it, of course, and so they called him crazy. And by the way, maybe he is, but it's still a point worth talking about. Instead, TMZ reported that many people in Kanye West's circle believe he needs, quote, serious help, and then cited an anonymous family member who explained that he's experiencing a bipolar episode. And by the way, maybe he is. We don't know, but it doesn't mean what he said is wrong. Over on CNN, of course, they were horrified by it. Call him crazy as quick as you can before anyone pays attention to what he's saying. Some guy called Dean Obadiah tweeted, quote, this is a human being in dire need of help, as if he cares. But help for what? For believing that pornography is bad for you, a form of bondage? For encouraging people to get off prescription pills? For getting emotional as you talk about considering aborting your own child? That's all crazy? Huh. Then what's sane exactly? David Webb hosts a radio show on Sirius XM. He seems sane. We're happy to have him on tonight. David Webb, great to see you. I just want to be clear. I'm not a shrink. I have no idea what Kanye West's mental state is. And I think there are probably a lot of things Kanye West believes that I don't believe at all. But he makes points that almost nobody I've ever seen on a campaign podium has made. And why isn't anyone talking about those points?
Because, Tucker, to your point, they don't want to talk about issues. Look, I'm with you. I'm not going to diagnose Kanye. I have nothing against Kanye. Matter of fact, I find him entertaining. And this stream of consciousness that he spoke about in the various things, and like you said, some of the outrageous things like $1 million, you know, for every baby being born. Well, there's another side of that. I would say teach them birth control, give them sex education. It'll cost you less than $1 million. And I think you and I can agree on the fiscal conservatism of that. But he talks about things that Hollywood hypocrites use as political wedges, as political pawns for ideas, and uses them against the people who dare stand up against them, like Dean Obadiah. First of all, ignore him. Kanye has a right to say what he says, whether we agree with it or not. I think you agree with that. And he has a right to do whatever he wants if he wants to make a public display and a public appeal. I think his words about abortion, his words about not taking drugs, about guns. He's right. Good people with good guns aren't the problem. Bad people with bad guns aren't. But then again, I don't understand why he says we're a nation of white supremacists, which we're not. I think we're just dealing with a stream of consciousness from a public figure, and I think some interesting things could be discussed. I'd love to sit down with them and do that.
I think $1 million is, a lot for a child. I did it for free. Most people do. But I do think it's so interesting that here you have a public figure saying that children are the most important thing in life in the world. There's nothing more important than children. And he means it. And he's totally right, of course. And he is immediately dismissed as a mental patient. Has that become that controversial a statement to CNN? Maybe
Unfortunately, for some it has. But Tucker, think about it. If we work hard in life to achieve wealth, to achieve station, status, or even if, no matter who you are, you achieve something in life, who do you leave it to? Do you leave statues? Do you leave your belongings? No, you have children. They're your true legacy. Kanye gets this, which, by the way, hallmark of the black community in America was always the legacy of your children doing better than you did, coming out of tough times. Think about the importance of children to our society.
I wonder, how many poor people at the end of their lives say, I just had too many children? Compare that to the number who don't, for whom that's all that matters. In the end, is there anything else that matters, really? I doubt many poor people at the end say, I just had too many kids. There's just too much love in my family.
No, it's absolutely true, Tucker. Come on. America, look around you. The joys of having family and community. It doesn't come from someone who doesn't procreate. It comes from someone who puts something on this planet that goes on to make it a better place. And that's what Kanye's talking about when he talks about children, when he talks about his life being saved instead of being aborted.
I'd be a lot more enthusiastic about voting Republican if some of them talk like that once in a while. David Webb,
well, we just did it. I'm a Republican, so there you go.
You've heartened me. Great to see you tonight. Thank you.
Great to see you, Tucker.
Adam Carolla up